Football, as we know it, has died and gone to hell. This new proposal for a European Super League has killed any aspect of the game that was in any way still for the fans. Now, I'm lucky enough that I don't support one of the clubs, one of the 13 clubs that have entered into this competition. So in a way, it doesn't directly affect me or my club, which of course is Crystal Palace, but it affects the game as a whole. And if you're in a situation where you support one of these smaller clubs and you feel that it's sort of not necessarily your place to even complain about this Super League because it doesn't affect you, you're wrong. It's the fans of the clubs like ours that need to be the ones to speak up, as well as the corporate clubs, Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, Man City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, etc. Everyone who's joined in this Super League, those clubs are at fault. And what you have to realize is those clubs don't care about their fans. Now, anything that those fans do, the club only cares if they're making money. So those clubs, the fans of those clubs speaking out against this new competition, the club look at it and think, well, the amount of complaints we get or the insults thrown at us are worth it for this 300 million plus whatever bonuses they're going to get. They only care if they're making money. And the main source of money is the fans. If you are a fan of one of these big teams, then I would urge you to boycott the competition. Don't pay a single penny that will go towards funding it and funding these teams. But I do realise that from a broader perspective, fans of these clubs might not care. What you have to realise is there's only, let's say, 100,000 Manchester United fans, 70,000 Arsenal fans, 60,000 Tottenham fans, 50,000 Manchester City fans, and whatever else who actually go to games. So they're the ones that it will actually affect. The Manchester United fans sitting in their house thousands of miles away will be no doubt ecstatic at the news. They're going to play Real Madrid every week. They're going to play Barcelona. They're going to be playing Bayern Munich as it stands because I'll get onto it later. But certain clubs rejected initially and got praised for it, and now they want to join. But from the fans' point of view, if you don't go to games, then this makes no difference to the way you watch football. Just instead of watching Arsenal draw to Fulham, you can watch them get battered by Barcelona or battered by Real Madrid. It's 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 ridiculous to be honest. But I see how if you don't go to games, you can back this proposal. But you have to look at the bigger picture. Think about what it means for English football as a whole, regardless of the Premier League. Think about the Championship, League One, League Two. Most of their funding comes from the Premier League initially. It will filter down. So when these six clubs leave, and inevitably the Premier League makes less money because there are less fans watching. As simple as that. That money is then less to be filtered down and filtered through. So the little money already made by clubs in League Two, for example, will be even less. And honestly, I don't doubt that you will see more clubs, such as Bury did, they will go bust because they're losing their funding. It's a selfish and, to be honest, it's cowardly from these top six and their owners. Now, it's not just in England either. If you look at, let's use Juventus as an example, this will be the first season in over 10 years where they haven't won the league, and longer than that where they've not been in the Champions League. They are losing money as well. They're in quite a serious debt, similar to Barcelona. So why not for them, from as a club, they'll jump at the chance to compete at the highest level, or what will be the highest level. They'll jump at the chance to receive the extra funding because they desperately need it. They can see their club falling off slowly, And this is a massive power grab from Juventus, from Arsenal, from Tottenham, from Barcelona, whoever else. This is a clutch at power because they can see it slowly getting away from them. I mean, it's ridiculous, to be honest. And I don't even know, I don't have a plan of what to say. It's all sort of off the top of my head. But football, at its very core, is for the fans. Because you've seen this season where there's been no fans in the stadium, how dry it's been, how boring and just dull and difficult to watch at times because there's no fans in the stadium. The connect between the fans and the players is huge. And as someone who goes every week to Palace, or used to, you experience it for yourself, and it's something that you want to hold on to for as long as you possibly can. And this proposal for those big club fans, who I can't necessarily speak for, but it rips that bond away from them. One club in particular that I feel should be absolutely ashamed of themselves and the way they've conducted the club and they've gone about their business over the past year or so is Liverpool Football Club. Initially, when the pandemic first hit, Liverpool were one of the first Premier League teams to furlough staff, despite being one of the richest, probably the second biggest. They were on course to win the Premier League, and yet they furloughed their staff. And now, to sign up for this sort of competition in which the fans will be completely alienated, it shows how hollow that club is. They can put themselves forward as the people's club. You'll never walk alone. All of that. It's a load of bollocks, to be honest. It's fucking ridiculous. Liverpool Football Club should be ashamed. Manchester United Football Club should be ashamed. Arsenal Football Club should be ashamed. As Gary Neville said, those three are the pillars of English football. The three biggest clubs. I don't talk to me about Chelsea. I don't care. Tottenham, I understand why they've done it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. But Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester United have been at the pinnacle of the English game for as long as most people can remember. And for them to abandon it for their own self-interest says much more about the current state of football than it does anything else. Gary Neville put it brilliantly when he spoke, so I'd urge all of you to go and watch that. Rio Ferdinand on BT put it brilliantly, much better than I ever could, to be honest. But from a fan's point of view, this is disastrous. And I'm reading through Twitter. I've even seen sort of things of there's little stories involved in sort of this. So the one that I saw was by stepping away from the Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur have essentially ruined Harry Kane's dream. If you think about it, Kane scored what is it, 160 odd Premier League goals? Well on course to at least getting close to Alan Shearer's record. And that's what Kane wants. Harry Kane wants to break that record, but he won't be in the Premier League to be doing it. English players, or players of any nationality really, but let's talk, I don't know, Bukayo Saka, Emil Smith Rowe, um, other young players, Mason Greenwood, Phil Foden. These players, young English talent, will be going into this Super League, and if UEFA and FIFA are to be believed, they won't be able to represent their country. Now, these kids, there's no doubt, when you're young, you dream of representing your country at the highest level. You dream of lifting a World Cup with your country. And to be taken away from that setup and to be essentially banned from being involved in any potential run for a World Cup must be heartbreaking for these players. Surely. The dream of lifting a World Cup for your country has just been ripped away from them by the greed and the arrogance of the clubs of which they play for. I've mentioned before recently about Palace and the way it might affect us, right? And I've seen scrolling through Twitter this new Everyone's going the new big six of the Premier League: West Ham, Everton, Leicester, whoever, fucking Villa. I would hate that. Honestly, I would hate that. This new everyone's putting a new Premier League table and saying, "Oh, this would be brilliant." It fucking wouldn't. It's like the Championship. Look at it. I've seen people put Barnsley, Nottingham Forest, Swansea, Derby in place of Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City, Tottenham, Chelsea. I don't think you realise. A lot of people don't realise these big clubs are a big part of the Premier League. They're the biggest part of the Premier League, and it's not the same competition without them. People saying, "Oh, we'll just replace them with better teams. It'll be fun." It won't be fun. I'm sure everyone will get on with it. I'll still go to games. I'll still support my club, but it'll be. As I said, it's like the Championship. We are now the second division of football, and yet we have no way of reaching the top division. We're locked in purgatory. And for the big clubs to have created a league, I mean, the best thing about a league system is that you get people fighting for titles or promotion, and then you get people fighting for relegation. And there's two sides of the coin, really. And it's entertaining throughout the whole season. Let's take this season and last season. Liverpool and Manchester City have absolutely walked away with the league. So what's exciting? The race for a top four in which you can qualify for the Champions League, and the race to survive relegation because nobody wants to be relegated. So now there's no race for top four because what are you qualifying for that's higher than you? There's no relegation as they've stated that the founding clubs cannot be relegated. So there's nothing to fight for in this league. If you're not winning the title, there's nothing to fight for. So where's your entertainment coming from? Arsenal fans, Tottenham fans, do you want to see your team beat every single week for no reason? You finish bottom, you go again next season, who cares? Where's the excitement in that? How can you possibly look at that and look forward to that with any semblance of hope that you can enjoy football? I don't understand, honestly. It's embarrassing. Now, for UEFA and FIFA and the FAs to have made the threats that they've made is absolutely fair enough. Expel these teams from their relative divisions. Expel these players from international football. Make sure these teams are docked heavily for their involvement in this proposal. Because, make no mistake, it's not something that's happened overnight. They've been speaking about it for years and years, behind the back of every football association, behind the back of the Premier League, and behind the back of every top division in football. For these teams to decide that they're going to split, it's a calculated and measured decision. So they should be punished as of right now. Dock points, fine the clubs heavily. And I don't mean a stupid £50,000 fine that one of the players could pay. You fine these clubs heavily. You make sure that they regret every single decision they've made regarding the European Super League over the past 10 years. You make them feel embarrassed because it is embarrassing. The threats made against them are absolutely fair because they have turned their back on the Premier League, on the relative football association of their country, and on their fans. As Steve Coppell put it, the only loyalty in football is between the supporters and his club. That will never die. As Sir Matt Busby put it, football is nothing without the fans. These two men knew what it was to be involved in football, and the clubs at the moment do not. They've ashamed themselves, they've turned their back on their fans and their relative divisions, and they should be punished. I honestly, I don't have anything else to say.